Ecstatic Bliss. Secrets to living a juicy life. What are your deepest desires? And are these desires truly from your soul, from a heart space level and beyond logic sometimes even? Or are these desires from your ego? I would like to speak into this topic of soul desires versus ego desires versus soul desires, because I've questioned desires in general on the spiritual path, where it is often said we shouldn't have any desires. And I was like, okay, I can reframe it into dreams, aspirations, goals. But desire has this special mix of dream plus pleasure from this dream, in a way, at least for me. It is stronger than just a wish. Desire has something very strong in itself in this word, the vibration of the word desire. And some may even only combine it in situations of sensuality, sexuality, but I mean desire is really truly that what excites you about life, what you thrive for with your whole entire being, so to say. And as I just mentioned, in the spiritual field, oftentimes in the teachings it said we shouldn't have desires, or we should work on not having desires, because desires create suffering. Suffering because usually there's an attachment we have to the object or subject or experience that we desire. So it's not so much the desire maybe, but more so the attachment that creates suffering, because attachment wants a fulfillment, and when it's not fulfilled, we suffer, or we at least are disappointed. We are maybe even, in grief and sadness, in anger, in frustration, and so forth. Some also argue that actually it's not the desire we want, or what we desire is not what we want, but more so the fulfillment of the desire, so we don't have the desire anymore. So that we are relieved of desiring something, which then in turn obviously also alleviates suffering. Sometimes it's not so much the object or subject that we desire, but more so not having that desire anymore. Yeah. So whichever way you want to see it, you can also explore it for yourself to really look into what is this desire I have and why do I have it, and what happens in me if it's not fulfilled, and what happens in me when it is truly fulfilled. When we now look at our today's topic, ego desires versus soul desires, we can distinguish these two forms of desires, at least as I see it, because I've questioned this mindset of, in a way, spiritualizing or neglecting or rationalizing or pushing down, suppressing, negating our desires. There must be a reason for our desires, an intrinsic reason. And sometimes maybe you can have also already had these moments or these phases in your life, you had a desire and it was really feeling like it's not really coming from the you, the I. It's something deeper inside of you. And that is where it's more about looking beyond what wants actually to experience something through you, which is always, like you maybe already have heard a lot of times talking me about in my episodes and everything that I do, is the divine will, the divine desire, so to say, the divine wanting to experience something through you. So when we have a desire that feels more artificial, that we can say is from ego, and these ego desires stem from the belief you need to have something, or the need for having it to have validation, attention, love, admiration, status, image. Usually also a lot of outer achievements. Like, I desire a big fancy car. I desire a villa at the beach. I desire someone who brings me flowers every day. I desire a holiday that is on a yacht in Italy or whatever. You name it. Just some examples. And often these desires also are in a way conditioned or primed from society, a lot nowadays also from social media, where we see others and saying like, I would also love to live this lifestyle or life they have, or I would love to have this what they have. A lot of like jealousy, judgment that intermingles in these desires, often subconsciously, because we are smart, or our ego is smart. We don't really want to admit when we admire something and are a little bit jealous of not having it ourselves. These are the sneaky ego desires. Obviously, the more conscious you are, the more you have done your internal work, the more you will spot these ego desires and will question these ego desires, and also have compassion with yourself, actually, that you have these ego desires in the first place, and then to transform them, to transmute them, to alchemize it into just nothingness of, okay, this is a desire actually from a wounded internal part of me, like my inner child, or my inner wounded lover, my inner wounded whatever part. And then to heal that part within yourself, for example, to buy yourself flowers, to give yourself this love and attention and affection you want to have through something you desired to achieve out of your own system, out of your own body, and to actually become your own nourishment, your own portal and harbor for nourishing yourself. So this is a little bit of a way of how to alchemize, to transform these ego desires. So, and then beyond that, there are desires that are, like I said, not really in our hands, And we can either like really high look it from a divine perspective, but I call it also soul desires, because soul is more the level we connect as a human being with, like our individual path. Divine is like we all are the divine, and different desires express or want to be achieved, want to be fulfilled through us. But your soul has specific, a little bit of like seeds of desires inside of you, and sometimes they are stronger, sometimes more faded, sometimes you have a desire so big that it drives your whole life and is kind of like almost your purpose, your mission. And these are the desires I would say, are not even meant to alchemize or to sit in meditation so long that there are no desires anymore. And I mean, because you can also fulfill in a way a desire just by imagination, just by visualizing this desire being fulfilled. But this is not the point, because we have been incarnating to really experience it also through our body, through our senses. And so these desires go deeper. They are on the soul level and often connected with what your soul came here to experience and explore, what your soul came here to learn through, grow with, and purpose-driven, mission-driven, deeply ingrained in your system in a way. And in my opinion, these desires are not meant to be alchemized away. And just to mention here, of course, when I speak about soul desires, the soul is a little bit personified, because desire is very much in our human dimension. But it gives the mind an understanding that there are different desires, and especially also the allowance that you can give yourself the permission to have desires. That is maybe also one of the main reasons I wanted to record this topic, because I know how it is maybe if you sit there and have teachings of philosophy and spirituality saying, negate all desires because they create suffering, to give this other viewpoint of give yourself the allowance, the permission of having desires when they come from soul. These desires are there for a reason, and maybe you don't want to frame them as desires. Maybe these are more your dreams, your passions, your passion, the drive behind what you do, why you do it, and how you do it. For me, these are all these soul desires that it is valid and even necessary to keep you going in a way. What we can invite, however, to not have maybe this pressure of fulfillment. Sometimes desires create a pressure that can either be used in a very fueling way, like fire burning and making it go forward, drive forward, and stay motivated even when things don't turn out the way it shouldn't, but the desire keeps strong and burning and motivating you. But it can also, in a way, drain you when you are too fixated or rigid on the way this desire should be fulfilled and the way it have, for example, a specific outcome, if you cling to a specific outcome of this desire. So there we can invite, of course, a little bit of this loosening, of a little bit of detachment. I think actually desires become suffering, your problem, your drama, when you attach too much to it and when you interpret too much to it. So there's a fine line, a discernment necessary actually also for yourself to tune in when you are too rigid in your pursuing of this desire, and where you can loosen and ease actually and flow more with the divine, with your soul, to listen for the next steps instead of forcing the next steps. To really tune into that signal of, okay, this is now the next step, this is now the next step, everything happens in divine timing and in a reason, and all left and right that maybe feels like a distraction, may not even be a distraction, but like core teachings on the way to really also not only fulfill the desire, but also to be able to receive the desire. Another layer we add here. Receiving the fulfillment of the desire is yet another layer. Because for certain desires to be fulfilled, we have to go that path first. Otherwise, the desire may not be sufficiently fulfilled, or it may turn out in a completely different way. It may not be very nourishing. It may not happen at all. Many scenarios possible. Always a learning, of course. But sometimes it really needs preparation, especially if the desire is really something big or you feel it's out of comfort zone, but it ignites you, it excites you. Sometimes actually also to add is that sometimes it's really only to feel that desire and not to have it fulfilled. I mean, from a divine perspective, sometimes you have a desire just to feel that desire, like, I have this desire and it may not be fulfilled in this lifetime. And to have this learning of being okay with that, detaching from maybe it's not meant to be fulfilled. And there comes a little bit of this play, the divine game here in our viewpoint, that sometimes we don't know. There's a desire and sometimes it feels like, this desire needs to be fulfilled in this lifetime and this is my purpose, mission, this is my drive, this is my passion. And maybe not. Or maybe that desire leads you to another desire. Or maybe that desire, when it's fulfilled, you feel like, actually, I learned a lot more on the way towards the fulfillment of the desire than by the fulfillment of the desire itself. So you see, desire, we can talk about it in many ways. The main point I wanted to get across again, to distinguish between ego desires and soul desires, to spot them also, these ego desires, and to allow yourself to have soul desires, but have discernment that they may or not be fulfilled, so that you detach yourself in a healthy way, but still keep motivated that they are for a reason inside of you, so they have the potential, and oftentimes I would say also the grand potential of being fulfilled. But also to be open that maybe the path towards fulfillment is more important for your soul than the fulfillment, the outcome itself. And with that said, may you want to sit down after this episode and really contemplate about desires you have at the moment. Ego desires, soul desires. Maybe there are also some desires of the past or used to be desires of the past and you have already fulfilled them, and to look at, okay, what was the path towards the fulfillment? How did the fulfillment actually feel? Because desires also create a lot of anticipation and expectation sometimes. And that gives sometimes even the imagination and visualization inside of us so much room for expansion that even the fulfillment of the desire, maybe the outcome, may be not according to what you visualized inside of you. And maybe then the fulfillment was an internal exploration of your multidimensional self and the capacity, how much you can imagine, and not really in this physical dimension. Much love and bliss, Soraya Ananda. If you feel the deep pull to walk this spiral more intimately, Soulgasm, my 6-month one-on-one sacred mentoring awaits you. This is a living embodiment of all I transmit here, but uniquely decoded for your soul. Enter the portal of ecstatic bliss and unleash your personal soulgasmic reality. All details and the link to book your vibrational match call are in the show notes.